I'm going to turn it over very first to our very own Amy Wagner. She's right behind me, and we'll take it from there. Thank you.
Hi, before Amy comes to speak, I need to briefly cover some important safety information. Valtoco diazepam nasal spray is a prescription medicine used for short-term treatment of seizure clusters, also known as episodes of frequent seizure activity or acute repetitive seizures that are different from a person's normal seizure pattern in persons 2 years of age, or older. Valtoco is not for everyone. Patients should discuss treatment options with their clinicians as individual results may vary. Valtoco is a benzodiazepine medicine. Taking benzodiazepines with opioid medicines, alcohol, or other central nervous depressants, including street drugs, can cause severe drowsiness, breathing problems, coma, and death. It is not intended for daily use and can cause physical dependence, withdrawal, and withdrawal reactions. Do not use Valtoco if you are allergic to diazepam or any of its ingredients in Valtoco or have an eye problem called acute narrow angle glaucoma. Talk to your doctor for all possible effects and visit www.valtoco.com for more information. And please see the prescribing information and medication guide. Now that I have covered the important safety information, I am pleased to welcome Amy, our ambassador, mother to teenage Luke, and who lives with epilepsy. Amy and her family work very hard to find joy in every moment, spending time caring for Luke and giving back to his treating hospital and helping people with epilepsy find a sense of community. Please join me in welcoming Amy.
Thank you, Robin. Thank y'all for having me. March 6, 2013 is forever frozen in my mind. It started out as such a normal day: work, school, evening softball practice for my then 11-year-old daughter, Lexi. My husband, Tim, was there helping me run softball practice, and our son, Luke, who was 5 at the time, was just out running around playing. I saw him kind of playing with the kids, then I saw him just staring off into space, and then the next thing I knew, he was asleep on the bat bag. This was really out of character for him, and me being a nurse and a mom, I kind of thought, I wonder if he's getting sick or what's going on. You know, little did I know at that moment that this journey ahead would challenge me and my family to rise up. My name is Amy, and I would like to thank Norellis for sponsoring me to be here today to share our story. That was 13 years ago. Lexi was in 6th grade, and Luke was in daycare. Tim worked as a telecommunications specialist, and I was a nurse at a busy trauma center. After practice, we headed home, we had dinner, and Lexi and Luke, they decided they'd go play Wii in the bedroom. I started cleaning up the kitchen. I was baking some banana bread. To this day, if I smell or see banana bread, the memories of this night come rushing back. Tim was outside, and then I heard Lexi yelling, "Hey, Mom, something's wrong with Luke." As I entered the room, Luke was bouncing on his knees, staring straight ahead, and he was blue. His teeth were clenched, and I wasn't sure if he was breathing or not. So I started rescue breathing for him. He just was turning bluer by the second. I yelled at Tim and Lexi. I said, somebody call 911. The medics arrived in about 5 minutes. It seemed like, it could have been 5 years. Here I am, a nurse for 15 years, trained in ER and trauma. And these were moments that I was trained for, and all my nursing instincts were gone. I believe my son was dying in front of me, despite my best efforts. Once the medics arrived, Luke was breathing on his own. He was very pale and just kind of staring off, and he wasn't responding verbally to us. They took his temperatures, 101, and the medics were like, he probably had a febrile seizure. We all made the decision that it'd be best to transport Luke by ambulance to our nearest children's hospital. I rode with Luke in the ambulance, and he had a little smaller event on the way, but he was talking to us and, kind of working back to being normal. They admitted us overnight for observation. It was just a normal routine night in the hospital. I woke up the next morning and he was having breakfast. He had a big tonic-clonic seizure lasting about 11 minutes. They called in the neuro team. We got moved and transferred to the epilepsy monitoring unit. They captured many seizures these next few days on his EEG, yet every other test we were doing was coming back normal. After 6 days, he was discharged and diagnosed with generalized idiopathic epilepsy. As we've heard, this means the seizures are coming from all over his brain, and we just don't have a known cause. Being a nurse, I tried to keep really positive, and I thought, he'll take this medication. Our lives may change a little, but his seizures will be controlled. Was I ever wrong? The first year after his diagnosis was chaotic and stressful. I was working nights, my husband worked days. We were trying to just keep up with life, and when I think back to this time, I feel so panicked. Our days and nights were filled with seizures, anxiety, doctor visits, hospitalizations, ER visits, and medication changes. Me being a nurse and taking Luke to the doctor and everything, we knew how important it was to control the seizures because every seizure is it impacts the brain, but just weren't finding any answers. This led me to homeschool Luke that fall instead of sending him to kindergarten. I think about how our family, all that was going on, but me personally, oh my gosh, I love being in control, and epilepsy had thrown a huge wrench into that. I just wanted the doctors to fix my Luke. I didn't understand. I was a trauma nurse. If something's broken, we would fix it. And the calls to his neurologist, the daily calls, he's having another seizure, just went on. And, meanwhile, my family was looking at me for advice and comfort, and wow, I was failing miserably in that department. So I tried to do everything. You moms and dads and families know, you're trying to do everything we could. And I was just trying to keep up and do everything I had done before Luke's diagnosis, but the added responsibilities of the caregiving and the homeschooling was just taking a toll. So I made the decision, I quit my job. We took a big financial hit, and it was hard to leave the job I loved. When Luke was 6, he was hospitalized, and his neurologist asked Tim and I to come to the room. I took Lexi with us because she was 11 at the time, or 12 at the time, but I knew as a nurse this wasn't a good sign. We had the EEG, had the video on Luke. He was in the room with my parents. He was putting together some Legos, and he said his EEG is so much worse than it was when he got diagnosed. Despite the severity, I was watching this, and Luke is talking, putting together Legos while he's having all these seizures. His neurologist said, that's a good sign. To me, I thought that was miraculous. Just with my medical background and what I'd seen, I'm like, man, he's having a big seizure, but he's still functioning. I remember looking at Tim and Lexi, and they were just so scared. I made the decision right then and there that I was going to change my outlook. We were going to find joy, and in no way was this diagnosis going to define me, Luke, or our family anymore. I knew right then and there that Luke was going to do something special in this world. At the age of 12, Luke was diagnosed with Lennox-Gastaut syndrome. All the things that's associated with that. Luke wasn't cognitively declining, but he wasn't advancing either. He's developed, I believe, 5 different types of seizures at this time. Seems like we'd get a hold of one type of seizure, we'd get a new med, and oh wow, we got control of that type of seizure, And then all of a sudden, there's this other kind of seizure that would rear its ugly head. He was having frequent falls and seizures just day and night. The only places we went, we were either at home or the hospital. The older and taller Luke got, the more we worried about him, injuring himself when he fell. We had the rectal diastat. We had been given that at the age of 5 at diagnosis, but it was so difficult to administer and so invasive. Luke would be mad every time he would kind of get with it from a seizure. He said, "You gave me the butt medicine, didn't you?" He knew, and then he said, "You pulled my pants down." It was just, I just wish we had something that was so much easier to give and not so invasive, and without him having to wake up being embarrassed that I pulled his pants down. This was just so devastating to watch, and just everything he was having to endure. But we chose to find joy, even on the most difficult days. Music is a special place that we've always drawn strength from, especially during the most challenging times. To this day, when Luke has a lot of seizures, we play a lot of classical music. Luke is known for his epic dance parties in the hospital, and anywhere anybody will dance with him. He participates weekly in music therapy and just loves it. He loves the drums. Wow. One song that really gets us through the day is Rise Up by Andra Day. Whenever I've ever had trouble getting Luke up, or I still do, or things aren't going great, I'm like, "Okay, come on, Luke, it's time to rise up." It's also really a personal mantra to myself, and it just reminds me, I've got to rise up, I've got to take care of Luke, I've got to take care of our family, and most importantly, I've learned in the last couple of years, I've got to take care of myself. I think back, and it always hasn't been easy to rise up or find joy, but in 2021, a particularly really bad hospitalization, Luke's epileptologist came to me and sat me down, and remember, this was during COVID, so it was just me and Luke at the hospital. And she said, "I need to have a conversation with you, but that I never want to have with parents." Luke, at this point, had declined to being almost bedbound, and it seemed like everything was triggering her seizures. Oh, the effects of all these medications he was on, he had developed allergies to some of them. And his epileptologist, she looked at me and she said, "You know what? We've got to get control of these seizures, or Luke's life will be cut tragically short." Luke's risk of SUDEP, sudden unexpected death in epilepsy, was rising due to the uncontrolled seizures, especially the seizures he was having all night. As a parent, how do you recover from hearing something like that? In my mind, I knew, we can either give up or we can rise up. So rise up is what we did. His medical team and our family decided to have a deep brain stimulator, a DBS, put in. This wasn't an easy process. Luke had to prepare for the surgery months in advance. At one point, this was during his week-long stereotactic EEG, they let Tim into the hospital for this, even though it was COVID, and had a lot of people in the room, and they're stimulating all these different areas of Luke's brain, and it was really hard to watch, just the things he was going through. Tim had to leave the room, and I'm just sitting there holding Luke's hand and rubbing his face. I was like, "Luke, do you want to quit? Do you want to stop all this?" And he looked at me, a 13-year-old boy in a bed, and said, "No, Mom, I'm going to do this to help other kids." 1 year post-DBS surgery, Luke's seizures had decreased by 50%. And his quality of life, as you can see, had tremendously improved. He successfully weaned off one of his medications. And while this was a tremendous improvement, I knew there was more ways that we could continue to help Luke. Through my research and word of mouth in the epilepsy community, I had heard about Valtoco, diazepam nasal spray. Valtoco is an immediate use seizure medication for the short-term treatment of seizure clusters in patients 2 and up. We decided to try it, and fortunately, it's easy to use, it's convenient to carry, and now with that 5-dose box, we can keep Valtoco everywhere we need it. You know, since Luke has daily seizures, we know to use Valtoco when we see a certain pattern emerge. Valtoco has comforted us with the ability to control Luke's seizures and, help prevent those dangerous falls, those ER visits, those hospitalizations that were so frequent. We've trained all our friends and family to use it, and we can be prepared, so everybody's prepared for these situations. We have really ventured out since his DBS and Valtoco, and finally got to go back vacation at the beach, something we hadn't done for like 5 years. Luke's first flights to Disneyland a few years ago for EADDL. He also has got to travel to Montana. We've gone to Colorado, and so his quality of life just greatly improved. He also has attended a day camp that's offered by his treating hospital for 4 years in a row, and we've attended a family epilepsy camp where he rock climbs and zip lines. The rock climbing and the zip lining, when we first pulled into that camp and Luke saw it, he's like, "Oh, I can't wait to do that." And I was like, "Yeah, whatever, they won't let him do that." And they're like, "Oh yeah, we let all the kids do everything." I was like, so that morning, I still didn't want it to happen, and Tim and Lexi, and they're like, "You've got to let him do it." So he gets halfway up the rock wall, and I'm not going up there, so Tim's all buckled in, because I was like, I'm not doing it, and has a big seizure, falls back, they catch him, he stops, and I figure, okay, good, now he'll come down, he won't do the zip line. Nope, he kept right going up. So, all these things are possible because we do have the Valtoco available, and if he needs it, we can give it. This is just our experience, and others may be different. Luke still lives with daily seizures, and as much as I want that to change, it possibly never will. He remains on 4 medications and has both his vagus nerve stimulator and his deep brain stimulator running. Luke is 18 now, but cognitively, he's about 10. He lost many years due to those severe, frequent, and uncontrollable seizures. With the transition to adulthood comes a whole new set of challenges that we have had to navigate. Things like decisions on guardianship, partial guardianship, medical power of attorneys, transitioning to adult medical care, and financial decisions. It's like I knew Luke was going to turn 18, but I didn't know. It feels like one day we're going on this journey and things have improved some, and it's like, hey, we kind of got the hang of this. This is good. And then all of a sudden, bam, he turned 18 and everything changed again. Luke didn't change, we didn't change, but the process changed overnight. Now there's a whole new set of decisions to navigate. The nuances of every state are different, but as soon as they turn 18, they're considered an adult. Finding a lawyer, learning the processes, finding resources has been challenging. I realize now that we should have started earlier, so maybe we would have been a little more prepared. There are places that you can reach out to for help, but there's also a lot of misinformation, and you just end up doing a lot of it on your own. I found my most valuable resources have been families that have traveled this journey before me. But you have to take into consideration every child is different, every situation is different, every financial picture is different, and, every state varies. This is a very confusing and frustrating time, yet on we go, advocating and doing the best for our kids. Through the years, we've realized that we cannot control these seizures, but we don't let them control us. I always tell Luke, you have epilepsy, but epilepsy doesn't have you. Luke, he loves to meet people, and the first thing he'll tell you is, hey, I might fall down and have a seizure, but don't worry. He just wants everybody to be comfortable around him. He's just such a people person, and we've always got our Valtoco, so we know we can do new activities that he now just loves and enjoys. You'll see some of those activities up there. Loves riding his recumbent 3-wheel bike. He wants to ride it on the street, but we don't ride it on the street. We always go to a big parking lot. He loves to play Miracle League Baseball. He's gotten into Special Olympics bowling, and he's really gotten good, and also basketball. You will see the one picture up there where he broke his arm. That was from playing basketball in January, fell and broke his arm, but I will say he's back on the court, much to my nervousness, but he's going. He also fell in love with hockey this past year, and he's about to start sled ice hockey. He thinks he's going to skate and do hockey, but they've got a sled for him, and that's going to start next weekend, so that's really exciting for him. Luke also loves trains. Oh my gosh, he's obsessed with trains. Make-A-Wish built him a train house in his backyard. He runs his trains. He'll talk to you about trains. He never misses an opportunity to go see trains, watch them, go to a train museum, train shows. I know more about trains than you would ever need to know. He also has a team that he has named Luke's Train Gang. He raises money for the Epilepsy Foundation. And he sells T-shirts with his team name every year, and we participate in the walk. That is his favorite day of the year, even more than his birthday or Christmas, because all these people come together with their shirts on, supporting Luke, and just getting to be there for our family. That's not all he does. He runs a pet sitting business, makes and sells dog and cat treats, and also has a scrapping business. He's the CEO of these companies, and he does not pay well at all. But I will tell you, the benefits are tremendous. He is happy and busy. Now that's joy. Luke is brave, fun, and a legendary prankster. He teaches me something every day. He inspired his sister Lexi to become a nurse. She now works on the neurology floor of his treating hospital. He keeps our family going, living by our motto, celebrate the struggle. Life with Luke isn't always easy, but every day we get with him is a reason to celebrate. We are now really focusing on giving back to his treating hospital by volunteering and helping those newly diagnosed find community and resources. We serve on family advisory councils, neuro advisory councils. We host a monthly coffee hour called Pastries with Parents on the neuro floor where we can reach out to new families. And every year we have a big holiday party for all the neuro families in the hospital. Luke truly keeps us all going. The best example of his fortitude was on a Saturday a few years ago, and he was playing Miracle League Baseball. He had some fans come. They had their signs, and he was out there playing. He had his first seizure and fell down and kind of got up. And, of course, I wanted to go out there, and Lexi and Tim were like, leave him alone. He got up, let him do his thing. He did it again, and I said, I'm going out there. So I kind of helped him get up, and I'm like, hey, Luke, why don't we go rest, and let's just take a moment. He looked at me straight in the eye, and he said, no, Mom, my team needs me, and I will never quit. We have that peace of mind, to let him make some of these decisions himself, because we do have the Valtoco if we need it. That's my Luke, my daily inspiration, and my hero. Thank you so much.